Lance Onstott, Assistant City Administrator.
Kimberlyn Gilchrist, Associate, Triplet Wolf Garrettson.
JT Klaus, City Attorney.
Les Mangus, Director, Community Development.
Susan Renner, City Clerk.
Jennifer McCausland, City Administrator, and your last City Council member is on Zoom. Mr. Warrington, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. This is Mike, City Council member.
Thank you, Mike. Excuse me. At this time, we'll have invocation, and it's Pastor Randy Sexton from Epic Church. How you doing, sir?
Please pray with me. Our Father in the heavens, we are thankful for the grace and the gifts that you provide to all of us through your creation, through our families and friends. In these, you reveal your love and goodness. May we ever be grateful for these. Please bless those who are willing to serve this community and its citizens. Please bless this meeting, granting wisdom and direction to all who have authority and responsibility in managing the affairs of this city. Please watch over those who keep us safe, the men and women of our police and firefighters, as they remain ready to help those in need. And please grant your protection to all who live here. You are always with us wherever we are. Grant us your strength to live in love and tolerance with all those around us. Thank you for your grace and mercy, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, excuse me. At this time, we'll open up the public forum. If you have something to say, state your name and your address and keep it short. Go ahead, sir.
Hello again. Frank Evandigo, 319 Countryside Court South. Once again, I'd like to ask, have there been any discussions on aerial displays of fireworks? If not, do you plan on any?
We haven't had any discussions, and I don't know if we will anytime soon.
Okay, one of the things that you brought up at the last meeting that I was at was that you cannot tell people what to do on their own property. My back fence runs 160 feet long. I'd like to set up a 25-yard pistol firing range for my personal use. Is there any objections to that?
City ordinance?
Yeah, city ordinance, and that's not even, sir, with the utmost respect, that doesn't even make sense, all right?
You're telling me I can't do it?
City ordinance, I would not advise it, sir.
Okay, so you can tell people what to do on their personal property.
I'm not going to have this discussion with you.
Okay.
Would you answer a question for me?
Yep.
All right. I go through your neighborhood a lot before and after the fireworks. I never see your car in the circle drive, but it just happened to be there 4th of July. So if we're going to be honest with each other, let's be honest with each other, all right?
You have pictures of debris on my roof, in my rock garden, on my driveway.
Yep.
So let's be honest about that.
All right. I would not advise setting up a pistol range in your backyard, but as an American, I can't tell you what to do, but as a city ordinances, there are some for that. And we discussed that even last week, so, all right?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
can I say something to Frank?
Absolutely.
I know it's a hard position to be in, Frank, and it's probably really hard to come up and talk, especially with something that seems somewhat contentious. So thank you very much for coming up and having the discussion.
I'll be back next month.
All right, thank you. We appreciate it. All right. Anyone else have anything? Public forum? All right. Public forum is closed. Acceptance of agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Citizens request 7-1, Music Theater Wichita 2022 request. Angela Cassette?
Yes.
Wow, job.
Thanks so much for having me. It's nice to see you all in person instead of on Zoom. We do want to talk about 2022, but I would be remiss if I did not issue a couple of thank yous, first of all. Right now, we are rehearsing our 4th production of the season since April that has taken place out here at the Capitol Federal Amphitheater. And Music Theater Wichita, in our 50th year, is one of the few theaters nationwide that has been able to return to large-scale performances. And that would not be possible if we did not have the use of your venue. So we are tremendously grateful that you all saw fit to build that and that you did such a wonderful job and that you have let us use it this year. I also want to say that every member of the city staff we've interacted with has been wonderful, but there are 3 in particular that have been just over the top amazing, and that is Rick Lansrath, Daniel Shapaw, and of course Katie Cork. Every time we came up with a request that we thought would be too far or too much, they said yes or let us work on that for you. It's been really astonishing to deal with people that are so good at what they do and so generous with how they interact with us. So we're really pleased with the experience, if you can't tell. And we would love to continue coming back, even though we do plan to return to the concert hall at Century 2 in our 2022 season. We would like to do our first production out here in May, when hopefully we will still get some good weather. And that would be Jersey Boys. For those of you who know any of the songs of Frankie Valli, which you have to as an American, it's a show just full of all those great hits, and we know it would be a great experience for people out here at the Capitol Federal Amphitheater. So that's all I have to say, and if you have any questions for me, then I'll take them.
Anyone?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
is Music Theater Wichita a nonprofit organization?
We are.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to say thank you for what you bring to our community and what you have brought this last year. I think it's kind of opened up a kind of ray of sunshine for people that have been kind of trapped in their houses and not able to interact with people, and finally get out and see the talent of your volunteers and your actors and singers. I just want to say thank you for that and for what it meant to our citizens and for the people in the metro area. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to say the same thing. You brought some sunlight to our city and some much-needed eyes in traffic as well to let them know that Andover is open for business, and we have a great venue to share with everybody. So thank you on my behalf. Thank you. And the people of the city. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a couple questions. I received, I don't know, it's been a few weeks ago, the list of your for the 2022 season.
Sure.
Why is this just now popping up for us to approve?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer. We had reserved dates prior to releasing any information to the public. And I think that Katie and I assumed that between us, we would work out a rate that would be workable. And but we did check dates. We didn't advertise dates without having city permission.
Okay, it just seemed a little bit, you put the cart before the horse, because if we say no, you already have advertised that you're coming here. So my next question is, why such a steep discount? Katie?
So Daniel and I worked really hard on figuring out what these costs were. As you know, we recently in May, it was in May, we also worked heavily on a new reservation policy. And we felt that the price of, I don't know what I wrote, 36,840. That's based on the performances only, which is what the facility is supposed to be used for. But we felt that it's a great program to be out here. We love working with them, and they're pretty easy to work with. Some of those costs are that are wrapped into it are based on one-time events. This
So
is
putting
not
the
going to be
fence
like a
up.
one-time event.
Like that.
Right. So a lot of the costs that we typically have aren't necessarily recurring costs.
I do have a concern. I mean, I love it. I'm like everybody else, but that is right. May 15th is graduation, and we have I mean, I don't know a lot, but we have several people who rent the lodge out. Is that going to be available for like Friday the 13th? And
So we did have a reservation already in place, and we've worked with them to move it to the weekend before. They've been generous enough in that we can reserve it on the 14th. I think, that would be something we can discuss with them. I will say this year, when we didn't have those parties over here in the lodge, we did get more use of our Andover Community Center and more use of the conference cabin, which we don't typically get. So we do have those facilities available as well. And even with this discount, doing it this way, we're going to still get more revenue for the city than we would for the graduation parties.
so the question, I guess the answer is no, the lodge is not available for graduation parties.
So the lodge would not be available for reservation on the 3 days where we have performances going at the same time.
Because you have performances like the weekend after, if I remember correctly.
The performances are the 18th through the 22nd, so that 19 or 20, 21, 22 would be the days that it would be unavailable.
Yeah, because graduation's the 15th, which is a Sunday, so the Friday and the Saturday would be available.
Those would be available for us to work through, yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mike?
Mr. Mayor, this is Mike. I'd like to agree with what Tim was talking about on the dates, because we've typically always had the lodge available for graduation, parties, and I like to see us try to work that still in, so we can still have those available.
I don't know if he heard the date range or not. Mike, did you hear that it is available except for 3 days a week after graduation, right?
Okay, all right. So what I was saying was I agree with Tim.
Oh, okay.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the Music Theater Wichita's request to reserve Capitol Federal Amphitheater in May of 2022 for a discounted rate of $25,000 as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I do have just a question. Donna, do you see any issues with the budget or anything? Thank you.
She may see issues with the music, but she's figured out how to do that
Dancing. You're going to be a frontliner now.
One thing to keep in mind, and this is more for the people listening home, and is that these folks are paying us and we're not paying them, which normally we have to do. We have to pay people to come here and entertain. So this is a good thing for the city of Andover, that they're actually bringing money to us instead of us paying them to come here. So it's worth noting to the people that might be listening or might be concerned. All right? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve consent agenda items 8.1 through 8.3 as presented.
Troy, second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Number 9, street rehab phase 3, bid award. Rick Landry is going to speak to us about this.
So this is obviously Project 3, Phase 3 of this year for our street rehab program. As many of you probably recall, let's see, I think it was in June of the previous year, we approved or agreed on a 5-year plan. And this is just moving on through our 5-year plan for street rehabilitation. This project came in under our estimate, and we feel like the bids are really good. There was, I don't know, maybe less than a 2% difference between the two low bidders, which is usually a good sign of you got good competitive bids. The successful or the low bidder is Pearson, and Pearson just completed our previous phase 1 of our street rehab project, and I felt like they did a pretty good job. If you have any questions, I'd be more than willing to try to answer this. There is a map up there that shows the project area and the limits. Obviously, so you're aware, the phases of Shea and Douglas will probably not get done until school is over. We're not going to try to attempt that while school is in session. That is a contract requirement that they do that while school is not in session. The area of Willowbrook Addition area is all subject to weather limitations. They could try that if they had time this year. However, I don't anticipate them getting to it this year because the successful bidder has been successful in a lot of other bids, and they would not have time probably to get to it. But we did give a bigger window of construction until the end of June because we didn't want to eliminate a potential bidder because they had too much work for the end of this year to do it and drive our rates up potentially. Does anyone have any questions I can answer?
Mr. Mayor, I do have one, or I guess a statement.
Sir.
Thanks for mentioning, because that was my big thing. We're not going to try and do this during school, especially on Shea, because it's a nightmare as it is. So
Yes, I have
I
enough.
like the new glasses too. So.
Thank you. I have enough gray hair as it is. I don't want to try that.
Thanks, Rick.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to accept the lowest qualified bid from Pearson Construction LLC, Wichita, Kansas, in the amount of $734,994 and reject all other bids and authorize the mayor to sign the contract for the street rehabilitation project Phase 3.
Second, Troy.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. 10-1, mayoral appointments, park improvement design administration inspection services request for qualification selection committee.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this committee will help us select the consultant who will do the design work of 13th Street Park and the fire station park next to the fire station, the proposed fire station. So we're getting out kind of early on this because we know we haven't had the vote yet, but due to the time frame window allowed for construction of a ball diamonds and seasons that have certain restrictions in there for playing those seasons, we felt like we needed to be ready to go should we get a successful vote in November 2nd to be ready to go, so we didn't end up either having to delay it another year or have to try to take out a season of play. We were trying not to eliminate the kids' chance to play for a season. So we feel like we need to be ready should the vote be successful, so that we can then start the selection or have the selection process completed and ready to go. Obviously, there will be no presentation of a contract unless there is a successful vote on November 2nd, and all candidates will be informed as such prior to competing for this project. This consultants will, after they're selected, will work with the PRAB and the governing body on the design and get the input from both entities and bring those into, and council and staff and work on. And obviously they will reference back to the actual study, the comprehensive plan study for our park system and the design also. We had a pretty good conceptual on that, if you recall. If anyone has any questions, I'd try to answer them.
Mr. Mayor, I do have one question I kind of asked Tim about earlier as well. When we're talking about Phase 1 and we talk about the 4 12 and under ball diamonds, do we have an estimate on what center field would be, or however you word that in regards to footage?
I don't remember the distances off the top of my head. It's been a long time since I coached 12U, and and I can't quite remember, but I'm sure we would pick the appropriate 12U size. It's condition. Probably, I think there's a condition that usually runs about the same as a softball diamond field. And so we would want it to be the same because these are combination fields. You'll use them for softball and youth baseball.
So we could potentially market that then as 12 and under plus maybe adult softball fields?
You could.
Sorry, and I didn't know who to direct, if that was you or Daniel, but, okay. I just wanted that to be noted because I think when people see on here 12 and under, I don't know if they know that we could play adult softball in there. Some of the people, constituents, if you will, have asked if it's going to be available for adult softball, so.
Yeah, so those sizes would work for adult softball.
Okay, thank you.
That question had come up, and I'd asked Daniel, so I knew he knew that number, and he did indicate that's 200 to 220 feet in depth at center field, and they can change the base length. So same answer, but if someone really wants to know the feet, 220 feet would be the depth.
Because I thought for adult softball, and I don't know if there's any other pros in here, but you're going to need 280 for adult softball.
We can look into that in the design phase. I don't think it's locked into the
how many feet
conceptual layout at this point.
Okay.
And we do.
Mr. Mayor, this is Mike.
Go ahead. Mike.
In the future, I would like to offer, some my expertise in this if the Parks Department is needing anything. I have designed, engineering-wise, several very large sports complexes, and my kids have played travel ball, and I've also been a vice president of a men's softball league for 15 plus years. So there's a little bit there. If the Parks Department needs anything like that in the future or staff, I would be happy to work with them.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
one, I might recommend Mike just being on that committee if possible. And two, so I've also, my daughter's in softball and she's currently in 14U, but she's played a crazy amount of tournaments to this point, and pretty much all the fields we've been on have been full fields for 18U. And if there's any younger teams that are playing, they just go put up a temporary fence at the end and move the bases. So why would we limit this?
Well, I mean, obviously you're going to have some spatial limitations in the area, but typically you're not going to have that many full-size softball fields going at one time. Now I've seen what you're talking about. It's very common. You can put the temporary fences in.
Any tournament I've been at,
Well,
we've
at
had
tournaments, yes.
8 teams, 10 teams that were 16U and full fields. And
If I could remind everyone, the study that we did not indicate that this should be a tournament complex. It needed to support our recreation program because that was what your community said they were looking for. And so our community supports 14U baseball. I think it's great that we can add some additional things, but that adult recreation was not one of those top
a
needs.
16-year-old person's not an adult, and it's pretty naive to build it smaller when at this moment we can make it a little bit longer.
Going back to that survey's information, the survey data definitely indicated that a need to grow the fields to support the existing program that was successful, was needed. There was little to no desire to get into any additional baseball, softball space. So that was what that was based on.
Yeah, I would still recommend go ahead and make it a full field and allow it to be fenced whenever it's smaller, just because, again, every tournament I've been to, and if we're competing with Goddard and Colwich and Mays and whatever, all of them are that way. Why would we do it smaller? Doesn't make sense.
Sure, and that's something we can get in during the design phase portion of it, obviously.
Yeah.
So I
didn't mean to be combative.
I know it doesn't matter to any of you, but while I was running for mayor and talking about this very thing, I got with, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but I'll get it for y'all. And he stated very clearly that the need for bigger diamonds for us to try to compete with Goddard and all the places you named, there's not enough, there's more, it's saturated, and it would be foolhardy of us to try to compete with them if we didn't have other ways. There's no place for them to spend their money here. That's the first thing. So they would be taking all the sales tax revenue up 13th Street to spend it in Sedgwick County. Another thing is, it's very hard to get umpires for those particular things. And by the way, what's the criteria for me picking who's on this? Last time I checked, I am the mayor of Andover, and I get to appoint this person, and y'all can either reject them or accept them. That's the way we do it. Tim's family also travels a lot playing ball. Tim's boy, if I'm not incorrect, he is an umpire. So where do I stop? What number is it, Mike, that I say, this is how many I need on the team for such a small thing? So while I appreciate you being interested in it, you do me the courtesy of emailing me next time you want to do something like that and not bring it up in public. I appreciate that. So here's how it works. Y'all can accept the appointments or not accept the appointments, and that's the way it will go this evening. And if I'm incorrect, JT, would you help me with that? And you might want to open your packet up before Tuesday morning, because you could have brought this up before the day we bring it to the city council.
Not sure if you heard me. I think I said that if there's anything in the future, because we did have that conversation earlier with Jenny, so I didn't bring it up in the public.
We didn't have a conversation.
But
we didn't have a conversation.
I guess we're having it now.
Yeah,
So
that won't happen again. If you want to do it, you give it in time for it to be on the packet on Friday. And if you read your packet over the weekend, then we can do it on Monday. Staff doesn't just lay around waiting for us to call and stuff for them, Michael. Mr. Warrington.
that's really good of you.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, if I might point out.
Have at it.
All right. Mike didn't actually ask to be on the committee at all.
Okay.
I was the one that said.
You're out
hey,
of line, Mr. President. You're out of line. You're out of line.
In what way?
You're out of line. You don't know what you're talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Mike knows what I'm talking about. And
Mike said he had all these qualifications and he'd be happy to help in some way. In the
Troy,
we all heard it. This entire room.
Troy, I'm not going to have this conversation here. If you want to have it afterward, we can do that. But you're out of line and you don't even know it.
Ditto.
Okay. So let's vote. Vote, not vote, I don't care. But at this particular issue, you're out of line. You don't know what communications he's made with who. You don't know.
I know what he asked.
You're talking about tonight, right?
Yeah, he didn't ask to be on the committee.
Mike?
He didn't.
Troy, you're wrong.
Okay.
You're wrong.
Whatever.
You're wrong.
You can watch it later and figure out who's right and wrong. How about that?
I'm not talking about tonight.
Okay. It doesn't matter.
I'm not talking about tonight. The day didn't start at 7 o'clock. It didn't start at 7 o'clock this evening. The day starts at midnight. So do you know everything conversations that have between midnight and now? No, you do not. So you can talk about what you know, but you can't talk about what you don't know.
Yep, ditto.
Okay.
Hey, Troy.
Yeah.
I had emailed Jenny earlier this morning and asked if I could be on the committee as well. And she said that she would ask the mayor. I didn't say anything about, knowing that Tim would be on there or not. I just said if I could be on there. I haven't said anything else to anyone else. And so, but my comments tonight were just if the Parks Department needed any additional expertise in the future, and that I would be happy to help them.
Yeah.
Hey, Jenny, or JT. Just for my own knowledge, what happens if we were to not approve the mayoral appointments? What's the process at that point?
Well, to be honest, you don't have to have a city council. This was really staff thinking it was helpful to have a member of the city council involved in our RFP selection, and we try to do that because it's a long process to go through reviewing RFQs and RFPs. And not that we don't think you don't trust the staff, but I think it's generally helpful to have a champion on the council who's gone through all the homework, read all the proposals, listened to if there's presentations, if we bring in people for interviews, to have one of you have sat through that process and be able to tell your colleagues on the bench, yes, I've participated, and yes, I support this recommendation. We could move forward with the committee without anyone from the governing body on there. There's nothing set in code or statute that says we have to have a member of the governing body. My thought would just be it might reduce the buy-in of the governing body at the point that we bring you a recommendation because one of your colleagues didn't go through the process. But that it's really just a typical operating practice that we would include a council member, maybe two. I mean, it just depends on when the interviews are going to happen, availability of members, and I suppose interest. If sometimes things are more interesting to sit through and listen, and some are less interesting. So.
And this approval is for all the appointments, though, right? So we couldn't just say no to one. We would be basically tabling the whole thing. Is that? I guess I'm just trying to see what's the procedure if we were to say no to this item.
Well, let me help.
Yeah.
So there's no legal requirement that you have this committee at all. It is more a sort of habit and custom of how the city of Andover has done business. There's no state law requirement that you have it. And so there's no state law governing how appointments are made to it. Traditionally, the council has a history in this regard of having the mayor make appointments and then approving those. If you don't approve any of the appointments to the committee, I think the answer is the committee won't exist. Certainly not statutorily required.
But I don't think we need permission to create an RFQ selection committee either of staff. It's just when we would bring you that recommendation, it would be because we decided who was going to be on that committee. So my advice would be to put someone from the governing body on it. But if that's not something we can come to terms with, then we can go with just staff.
Mr. Mayor, if I may. Well, in case somebody misunderstood what I was saying, I think everyone on here, Tim absolutely included, would be exceptional for this committee. I don't see any reason not to put Tim on it. He's obviously got experience and he's really good at research and
I'm the quiet guy in the corner.
So as far as him, in my opinion, I think the committee's great. I don't know why we would
Wouldn't this
want
be,
to back off of it.
sorry,
No, go ahead.
President. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Isn't this similar to your liaison appointments? I mean, we don't all, 6 of us need to be on every board issue out there, right? I mean, we bring stuff to you guys, from the library board to the site plan review to the school board. I mean, I think we bring that, and I think that's what this is trying to do. So if I may, Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the mayoral appointments of council member Barry, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board Vice Chairperson Kirsten Barnes, Assistant City Administrator Lance Onstadt, Director of Public Works and Utilities Rick Landsrath, Park and Recreation Manager Daniel Chopin, to the Park Improvement Design Administration and Inspection Services Selection Committee.
Second, Troy.
Any further discussion?
JT, do I need to, since I'm on, back off, not vote, or? Okay.
Do you have any monetary reason to?
Wow. Any further discussion? I'm sorry. That it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. I enjoyed
I'm
it.
sorry, the clerk has asked whether Mike has abstained.
Oh,
Can you hear us?
No, I voted yes.
Thank you.
pardon me.
He looks like Max Headroom up there a little bit. Yeah, kind of.
All right, this time, executive session, land acquisition KSA 75-4319B6.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Move to recess into executive session for preliminary discussions relating to the acquisition of real property per KSA 75-4319B6, session to include governing body, city administrator, assistant city administrator, director of community development, city attorney and his associate, and resume in open session at 8:05.
And Mr. Mayor, I just want to make one comment. This is your police chief's last city council meeting. And I don't know if everyone here is going to stick around through not just this executive session, but the one that follows as well. So in case anyone wanted to say anything while we still have a little bit of an audience, I just wanted to bring that up. And I'm sorry because he is going, Jenny, I wish you would have just kept your mouth shut, but I didn't think I could keep that quiet.
So he's not going to stay?
I don't know.
In my 20 years, 15 years here, I've never left when you've gone, and so I always stay till the meeting's over.
In light of your discomfort, Chief, you do not have to stay. We all appreciate that, but you're welcome to, but by no any means you don't have to, sir. All right. So I need a second, right? Second. Thank you, Joe. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0.
Administrator. Director of Community Development, City Attorney, and his associate to resume in open session at 8:18 p.m.
And this is the same session. You're just resuming
Troy,
the
second.
Same session you just.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Joe?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to recess into executive session for preliminary discussions relating to the acquisition of real property per KSA 754319B6. The session to include governing body, city administrator, assistant city administrator, director of community development, city attorney, and his associate, and resume open session at 8:35.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
And I'm just confirming you guys are returning.
For the same thing.
Yes, sir.
I move to come out of executive session.
Second, Troy.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. 11.2, attorney-client privilege, KSA 75-4319B2.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to recess into executive session for consultation with the city attorney pursuant to KSA 75-4319B2, which would be deemed privilege in the attorney-client relationship. The session is to include the governing body, city administrator, the IT director, the city attorney, and his associate. The open meeting will resume at 8:53.
Anybody?
Second, Troy.
All in favor, say aye.
Mr. Mayor, aye. Can we let the staff go?
Les, can you stick around till after? Yes, we can. Staff. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. All right. Can I get a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to come out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Member items. Anybody have anything they want to share or impart with?
Mr. Mayor,
Huh?
You have some motions to make?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I move the city authorize the Director of Community Development to offer to purchase the appraised just compensation to purchase drainage and temporary construction easements on the referenced parcel R20876 for the North Andover Road improvements, street and drainage improvements to Dale and Cheryl Hansen.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Lance, do we have Mike on or do we need him on?
Oh.
Warrington.
Mike Warrington.
Sorry, Councilman Warrington. Okay. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move the city authorize the Director of Community Development to offer the appraised just compensation to purchase the referenced parcel R24033 for street right-of-way for Founders Parkway street improvements to Ruben and Myra Mendoza.
Second, Troy.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Mayor? I move the city authorize the Director of Community Development to offer to purchase the referenced, strike that. I move the city authorize the Director of Community Development to offer the appraised just compensation to purchase the referenced parcels R24123, R24127, and R24128 for street right-of-way drainage easement and utility easement for the Archer Drive Street and drainage improvements to McCurdy Investments LLC.
Second, Troy.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd move that in conjunction with the foregoing, I move that the Community Development Director and or City Administrator spending authority be temporarily increased by $250,000 for the sole purpose of acquiring various rights-of-way in the Highway US 54 corridor.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Upon good faith and information, I move that the city not proceed with the bid from Flatland Technology LLC and reject all other associated bids for the purchase of security cameras for the City Hall and Police Department, which were initially considered at the August 31st, 2021 City Council meeting, and that the city's IT director be instructed to review and prepare a new RFP to satisfy all of the city's requirements for replacing security cameras following a more comprehensive review of the city's needs.
Second. Joe.
Any
Homer.
further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, member items. Anybody have anything?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
At the recent WAMPO meetings, one of the items that was brought up was that there's Vision Zero is something that really the nation's the nation's been looking at for a while, which is reducing the number of deaths by car accident to zero, which is really challenging, but they do have some extra funds for that right now. So something that we might look at is what those funds could be used for in our city. I know that we have a couple of blind turns, or almost blind turns, at least out of Crescent Lakes it seems to be. And then there's other techniques per se of making things more safe, like rumble strips before places where active accidents happen often, those kinds of things. But it's interesting that they put out some money for that kind of research. That might be something we want to look at. That's all.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Chief Keller, I just want to say thank you for your service. Appreciate you and wish you the best of luck. You're welcome.
Chief's been pretty amazing ever since I've been here. Pretty amazing guy. Yeah. The department has transformed since he's been there into something pretty amazing.
Very good job, Chief.
And I will remind you all that we do have a retirement reception for Chief on Thursday, the 23rd, from 2 to 4 p.m. in this room. So it'd be wonderful if all of you can make it, or some of you, however it fits.
Come and go for the public as well.
It is come and go from 2 to 4. I'd have to look at the invite. I think remarks are at 3. So if you want to hear things said or you want to say something, then you'd want to be here at 3.
Gifts will be presented at 3 p.m.
Just to add to your comments, I've been blessed to be surrounded by some really great people here in Andover that has really made me look good all these years. And on that, I also would like to, excuse me, remind everyone that Lieutenant Don Roberson has spent the last 43 years in law enforcement and the last 20 years here in Andover, and he'll be retiring this Thursday here in this room from 2 to 4. And it'd be really nice if any of you could stop in and thank him for his years of service.
This Thursday?
Yes, this Thursday.
Yeah, and at the rate that this city grew and the rate that you stayed ahead of the curve is really, on hindsight, incredible. It really is. I mean, the city blew up in the time you were here, population-wise, and you were always ahead of the growth as far as our safety, and I really appreciate it. I really do.
Your hairline.
Anyone else? Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second, Troy.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Thank you all.